This is a recorded version of my presentation at Think. What we are going to be doing here is we are going to start by showing that this Windows machine is fully patched, the Windows Defender is up, and then a person is going to open a Word document that has a single line PowerShell macro, very much obfuscated to avoid detection. Then from the Kali attacker, we're going to be going into Windows. We're going to be escalating privilege. We're going to look around. We're going to achieve persistent to make sure that if the machine gets rebooted or whatever, we always have access to it. We're going to get some passwords of a user, and we're going to bet that that user has access to other machines, in particular these two, WinTarget2 and Win7. And we're going to execute lateral movement to compromise this machine, and then we're going to erase the logs. And the idea is to see what is it that Curator can detect out of all that. So we the attack is going to be a little bit complicated in a sense that going to be using Metaxploit and Metapreter. What I did is I put this document and another document that I will mention in a minute will be in a link that is shown in the video description of this one. And I try to, in order to make sure people don't get lost on it, I'm going to be showing clearly where am I using Metaxploit, whether I'm using Metapreter and with which session that is, and when I'm issuing Windows commands. So let's actually get this done. So we show that here in Curator we have cleared all the offenses, so we have nothing in it. I have actually the machines separated in more than one computer, but that's irrelevant. They all belong on the same network. That doesn't change the nature of the attack. So let me explain first of all how the machine gets compromised. The machine, the macro, the word macro that is on the document that the person will open contain this line: PowerShell exec execute possibly bypass no profile, and then downloads from the Kali machine, which is the 124 network, the mylove.exe file, and it's going to execute it from a temporary directory. But if we send the command like that, we risk being detected very easily because of this, temporary directory, all these things denote that the presence of malware. So what we're going to be doing as bad guys is that we are going to encode, and more on that I'll show it later because we're going to use obfuscation twice. So we're going to take this command and we are going to encode it base 64. Base 64 is something used to transmit over a text channel like HTML information that is object type, that is binary type. So this single line in there, when obfuscated, becomes all this big line in there. All that is put into the word macro, and all the guy needs to do is open that one. So let's actually go into the other computer to show the Kali system and the Windows 7 machine. So on the left we have the machine that is actually fully patched. Let's actually prove that that is the case. Windows updates. We're going to see the machine is actually fully patched. Let's actually show that Defender is actually running and has scanned the machine, and everything is good here. Windows Defender is up. Well, actually I didn't need to scan that, but we see that Windows Defender hasn't detected anything bad on the system, and it's ready, preventing us from bad deeds. So are we immune to bad things? Well, we're going to prove that that is not the actual case. Here on the Kali system, that is going to be the attacker, notice that this is the resource file. Basically what is, and this is not a Metaxploit type of video, but what we are specifying is the callback, which is the address of the Kali machine. We started Apache server because the bad guys are going to be the poor guys, actually. The victims are going to be downloading the code, the executable from this Apache server that we have in here. So that's basically it. We're going to be doing that for port 443. So when we simply click on the subpoena document, we open the document. It has only one line. This has nothing to do with security. For some reason, it did not take the Windows Office license that I purchased. I don't know why is that, but that has nothing to do with security. But as you see, once we click there, a session gets actually established, right? And to prove that we can actually go into that machine, we're gonna actually go into sessions interactive on the session 1. This is the first session that we got. You see here session 1 open. I want to point that out because we're going to be opening multiple sessions as we compromise all the other machines. So we're in there, we are in Meterpreter, and we execute a shell to go into that Windows machine, and here we are. If we do dir, that's the directory of this, basically this machine. We can actually close this document. We don't need it anymore. Now the problem that we have, as impressive as this is not a really yet a very good attack, because if we look who am I, actually in here, who am I? I'm a regular user. I don't have any admin rights. So I need to escalate privilege. Why? Well, because if I try to do many of the things that I'm trying to do, the sophisticated things that I'm going to be doing in here, for example, if I try to elevate privilege and run the command prompt as an administrator, I get the user access control, the UAC, and unless somebody click in here, that thing is not going to run. So this session, as you may see, is not that useful, but just a means to a further end. So we're going to exit that session. We're going to actually send it to the background. We're going to use it later. We don't want to close it. And now we need to use another type of exploit. Where there is a will, there is a way. So we're going to use an exploit of the type Windows for local machines, and is bypass UAC. And we're going to set the session 1 for that, and we're going to perform the exploitation. We click exploit. These are all metaexploit commands. And if this attack this exploitation is successful, it's going to create a second session, okay, that is capable of bypassing the user access control. That was precisely the idea. And in order to prove that that is the case, let's actually shell into that Windows machine again. But now when we do who am I, to spell that right, who am I, we see that we are a normal user. There's something I forgot. It's actually a live demo. We need to escalate the privilege. And for do that, we all need to do is use a Meterpreter command called get system. And that will give me system access, right? So good, let's shell again. And let's do who am I? Bingo, I'm system. I'm, even more powerful than admin itself. Now I can do with this machine whatever I want. And since I'm going to be compromising other machines, I want to see which other machines are in the network. So that's a simple netview command. If we do that, we are going to see the machine that we are interested. This is the machine that we have, i.e. Win7. We're interested in compromising Win7 and WinTarget2, which is also fully patched, and but we're going to be actually compromising. But before I go into that, if the user happens to log off the machine or closes the machine or whatever, I lose this session. So I need to achieve persistence. In order to do that, we are going to be issuing some commands. So the first command that we're going to issue is this one. we are adding into the registry this key that says basically run my log.exe as calc to this guy's location. So anytime that this machine reboots, it's gonna be mine again. Let me go to the other machines. So let me actually paste that registry command, and it's successful because an admin, I can do that and whatever I want. Let's go back to the document. There are other commands I want to do. I want to actually activate the guest system that is in every Windows box, but is disabled by default. Well, I want to use that as another means of getting, if I want to log in specifically into the machine without just counting on the actual reboot. But a guest is not any good if we don't make it member of the admin group. So that's what the next command is actually doing. So let's actually, that's not the window I want. Let's actually go to Kali, paste that command in here. Now it's member of the admin. The last thing that we need to do here is just put a password we can remember. And that's 123456 is going to be the simple password I'll use. If they have a policy that doesn't allow this password, I will deal with it and put one more complex one. What I can do now with this machine is I can sell it on the underworld, because it's actually been easily compromisable by getting the guest account active with a password that we know. And that guest machine is a member of the administrator group. So let's exit this. We don't need this shell for now. And we need passwords. We need to figure out the password. So the standard way is actually to do a hash dump and then get all the hashes of all the password and go into rainbow tables. That's a lot of work. There's an easy way. So let's actually load Mimikat. Actually, it's Kiwi, which actually uses the Mimikat. So what we need to do here is simply ask for credentials all, creds_all. And here we have it. That's what we need, that password in there. Well, now we know what machines are there. We have one password of the user, and we assume that this user have access to all the machines. So let's actually use this user to move laterally and compromise all the machines. So let's send this to the background as well. And we are going to retrieve the original session, the session number 1. -I for interactive, and the number of the session, which is session 1. That is good. And we are going to shell into the machine once more with that session. And what we're going to be doing now is, notice that we got a user ID and a password. Let me actually explain in detail this. This is going to be a long video, but I hope it is informative. What I need to log in into other machines are the name of the machine, as you see them here. This is actually the actual command in PowerShell. If I put this in PowerShell, it will execute that. But so here I put the name of the two machines that I saw with the netview command. I know the user ID, I put the password that I found, and if this password exists in the other machine, if the user have access to those, bingo, I'm going to be able to compromise them. But notice that I'm using encode text in here. The idea is to, instead of sending this, to send what you see here below, which is encoded, again, to obfuscate, to avoid detection, and hope that QRadar cannot see these. And in fact, to make the video more complete, if we take this code in here, and copy in that, see, if we go into any Windows machine and we do PowerShell, and we paste that command, it's going to perform the encoding of it. Hit enter, and bingo, you see that thing that begins with JAB and ends with HOA. That is the encoded version of that command that we want to execute. So going back to our this document, it is also available on the video, on a link that is shown on the video description. So we're going to grab this obfuscated version of the command to move laterally and generate sessions to compromise the other machines. So we have that. We go into this shell session that we are here. We're going to paste that. Going to hit enter. And bingo, win target 2 is ready, and I got a session 3. Let's see what else. Session 4 open with win 7 machine. So you see it here, the win 7 machine. If we scroll up, and that's session 4, and session 3 is with win target 2. So we got the 2 machines that we saw in NetView, and they have been compromised. So you see we have all those 4 sessions. We can exit now here. And to prove my point, I'm going to actually send this session to the background and do sessions. I always forget the S at the end. /L for listing. I spelled that wrong. Double S here. And we see that session 1 is the first one that we got. Session 2 is the one with the previous escalation. Session 3 is one for the win 7 machine. Session 4 is for the other way around, the win 7 target 2, and the other one is for win 7. These are ordinary sessions, but you see, I'm not going to make the video much longer, by also escalating privilege in this very same way for session 3 and 4. But there's something I want to do now. I want to cover my track. I want to make sure that QRadar doesn't see anything of the stuff I'm doing. So I'm going to delete the logs. Okay? So I'm going to go into session interactive. Let's go to the session 2, the one with the privilege escalated, and issue a command, clear event viewer. This is going to clear all the events viewer logs, so QRadar will not see any of these, or will it? So remember, the 204 is the machine that we started, the one with the open document. 207 is win target 2, and 203 is win 7. So let's actually see in QRadar. Here you are. We have 3 offenses for each of the machines being compromised. Let's actually analyze them. Let's go into the machine that started, where all these things started. So let's open that, and we can see the history of the stuff in here. I like always to display the rules. And this, by the way, I forgot to mention, these are the rules that the Bright Mutaz created for the Sysmon package. This is all his merit. And notice that the last thing that we did is Windows event has been cleared, so detected that, detected credential dump, LSAS process for moving around and dumping credentials, attempt to, look at that, change the guest password, as somebody has been added to the administrator group, look at all the things, and all this was obfuscated with encode base 64, and QRadar reads that Sysmon package has a function that allows it to decode all that, and nothing is hidden from it. Let's actually go back to the summary and investigate that offense. Basically, we're going to be sending these details to advisor with Watson for it to see what it finds for us. It's actually what is looking for that. Let's go to the other offenses. We can see this is one of the other machines. We can see display the rules that fire on this one. Okay, and we see the actual, this is a remote process executed over multiple hosts. That's a persistent effort. We can send this one to advisor as well. And let's look at the third offense that we have for the third machine. And this one, the 203, should be pretty similar to the other one. We display the rules again. Yeah. So as you see, QRadar was able to detect all that. Let's send this to advisor. I'm going to pause the video. Advisor takes a couple of minutes to investigate this offense and see what else can it tell us. So advisor finished processing that. Let's actually see what an offense looks like when advisor has give us their opinion. So notice on the MITRE attack tactics, this attack was actually pretty intense. So there were execution, and it tells you all the observables, the user there, the persistence, the privilege escalation. There was defense evasion for sure. There were credential access. We saw that. There was lateral movement on the machine. Was information collection. There's command and control. Well, that's a pretty impressive. And this gives you, especially if you are not an experienced SOC operator, it will really tell you exactly what happened. And in the previous one, there were almost all the. Oh, actually, this is the same offense as before. Let's go into one of the other machines. There should be less stages. Yeah, correct. The less tactics in here. Only those three. So if you are not an experienced person, you know actually what happened. And we can see from the previous one that the only thing that we did not see was actually data exfiltration, because we didn't do any.